Hey everyone. Hi Steph. Hey Catch. So beautiful to have you on Freebird. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing ridiculous.
That's great. That's great. Can't wait to hear how ridiculous you're doing. Steph, do you want to introduce yourself and then I will introduce beautiful
Catch. Yeah, amazing. My name's Stephanie Ajna, and I am a holistic therapist and a facilitator with trauma-informed spaces. And it's a big pleasure now to be supporting One Love Community Care and Mary while I'm doing my mental health certificate and witnessing so many incredible stories from surviving to thriving. So I'm here in full support and really an honor.
beautiful. So nice to have you in this space.
Thank you.
Um, so let me introduce the man of the day, a personal friend of mine and someone that I have journeyed with and traversed with both personally, professionally, and in trauma-informed retreat spaces. I am super honored to have you today, Catch, and I feel like what I want anyone listening to understand is that on Freebird, this is an opportunity to hear real life stories and to get to know people on a vulnerable level and hear about what has worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. And yeah, we invite you to just be in full presence today. So, Catch, I know that you're going to be speaking about your powerful 6-year journey through mental health challenges. You've battled depression, anxiety, and deep struggles with suicide. Aaron shares how his attachment to a successful career as a high performing coach and entrepreneur and businessman has also led him to some very dark spaces where he was not able to, you were not able essentially to operate at that level. Through some intense episodes of not wanting to be alive, feeling lost, encountering the dark night of the soul, you've been able to tap into some healing modalities and look at what has worked for you. Do you want me to call you Aaron or Catch?
Catch, call me
Yeah, okay,
Catch.
cool. Because I'm like, hold on a minute. So Catch has risen from the ashes like a great phoenix. And now he's more in love with life and himself than ever before. His soul is on fire. He's feeling absolutely ridiculous. And I am super excited to hear about your inspiring story. I also want everyone just to be mindful that this episode and many of our episodes might be triggering. They might, some of the stories that are shared might be triggering stories. So, or they might, tap super close to home. So please ensure that you look after yourself, seek professional or personal care or, support from your community if you need to. There are so many people out there in the world whose sole purpose is to support you through your journey and on your journey. So please know that you're not alone. Catch, I'm going to hand it over to you. Do you just want to share a little bit about yourself first off and what brings
Yeah,
you here today? And then I've got some questions for you as well.
yeah, sure. So, yeah, my mum named me Aaron James Blackburn, but then 22 years ago, I was building direct sales teams and we needed a fun nickname for the office. And I was a catcher, a baseball catcher. And the thing I loved about baseball was as a catcher, I got to see the whole game in front of me. So I was the only person on the field where I had the umpy, the hitter, and all the fielders and the pitcher there all in front of me. And I kind of um, that's how I've always viewed my life is I always had a bigger vision and be able to see the game from all angles. And catcher being a catcher is the only one who does that. He's the only one who has the whole vision in front of him. So that was one of the reasons I said call me catch. And then the other one was I actually get to tell the pitcher what to throw. So nothing starts without me putting down fastball, curveball, change up, whatever I want the pitcher to throw. And if I want the game to pause for a second, I can go out and chat with the pitcher on the mound, or it doesn't really. And how I kind of say that about life is I get to choose how life occurs to me. And so, yeah, that was kind of just as like come up with that name 22 years ago, Catch 22. Um, and yeah, ever since then, everyone's called me Catch. It was quite interesting when at the time, building direct sales teams, we ended up getting headhunted to go build a business coaching company's sales team, and the appointment setters had trouble setting appointments for Catch because they were like, "Oh, we're going to have to use your real name," and I'm like, "No, you're just going to have to get better at your job. That's all." So, um, then yeah, everyone's called me Catch ever since, except my mum. She detests that I'm called Catch, but everyone else basically, except for people in school. And then recently, in the last few years, I've gone and got a job just to pay the bills, and I had Aaron on my resume just so I didn't have to be Catch. And yeah, so some people in the last few years called me Aaron, and then they wonder where people call me Catch, and then they just get on board and call me Catch from then on in. So
I feel like we're super clear now of the background and the history and and the name
absolutely,
Catch. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Catch, tell me, you described your journey with mental health over the last 6 years. Can you take us back to a moment where you first realized that having a high performing career was actually affecting your mental health? Like, what was the wake up call for you? And I've got to
Yeah.
say, I'm realizing that post COVID, so many people are actually waking up our nervous systems, our
Mm.
minds, the way that we do life is different. The way that we manage stress is different. So what I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, is at what point did you realize this is just not working for me anymore? And what were you doing at that time?
Yeah. So my background, so I spent sort of the last, since 2002 really, in personal development and business development. So I work with a high performance sales company, the business coaching company, for a number of years. I also did a lot of personal development work with Landmark Education. They're a worldwide company of personal development. So I was a senior leader with them for 5 years as well. So I'd spent kind of my spare time trying to become the best human possible, in a sense. And that led me to have a really successful career. I was a successful network marketer and sort of had a lot of recognition and a lot of acknowledgement of the accomplishments that had created in that career. Um, and a lot of beautiful experiences within communities as well, and really empowering people to live their best life, and whether that be time freedom, money freedom, personal freedom, having relationships that work, and having a beautiful life. And I loved empowering and enabling people to really live a fulfilled life. And then in 2018, that's when I met you and Jay. And I went to a 3-hour workshop on masculine feminine dynamics in a beautiful little spot in Currumbin, and my world just changed completely. I then 4 days later attended the Merge, which was a retreat that you and Jay were running. And one of the questions you asked me was, what was my connection with God, and what was my connection with myself with God? And I just had no answer to that. I felt like I'd had a beautiful life and a beautiful, successful life, you could say. Like, I was working from home, I was earning 6 figures plus. I was very well respected in the network marketing industry. I had a beautiful team that I was empowering to fulfill on their goals, but I felt really empty. And so that kind of set me on a journey of really wanting to discover more about myself and the spirit within me and my soul. And it just became where none of the traditional things you would say were success were fulfilling. Time freedom, money freedom, none of it really landed for me, and I still felt empty. And so that kind of led me on a journey of working with you and Jay, and really assessing, like, what's important in my life and what am I really doing here in this lifetime, and kind of opened me up to the idea that there's more to life than just going to work, getting a successful business or a successful job and having kids, and what I call the white picket fence syndrome, where we're just conditioned to believe like that's the holy grail. And for me, I was sitting there wondering, well, if this isn't it, then what is? And that kind of set me off on the journey. I exited out of the network marketing company I was involved with I sold my position in my team to one of my friends. And I realized at that point, like, I was running away from pain, basically. I have 3 kids. I've got a 9 and a 7-year-old, and the 7-year-old's born on the 11/11, and the 9-year-old's born on the 4th of the 4th. And so really cool numbers. And
Powerful.
then my firstborn son died the day before he was born. So that was in 2014, and I realized, like, throughout the last 6 years in particular with my mental health, like, I really didn't process the grief of having a stillborn baby. Um, I went on a week's long tour of New Zealand not long after he died. We had his funeral the week later, and then took off to New Zealand to do what I call a pork belly and lamb shank tour of New Zealand, because all we did was go from pub to pub to pub to see if they had pork belly and lamb shank. And, like, I couldn't tell you where we went. It was on the North Island, but it was all the pub tour. And I was just grieving. But then when I got back, I was in business, and one of the guys didn't pay me an invoice because I didn't follow him up while I was grieving my son. And it really had me evaluate what's important and why I'm in business. And that led me to build a really successful network marketing career. And within 3 or 4 months, I was traveling around Australia, speaking on stages in front of thousands of people, sharing about my success. But I never really dealt with the grief of the pain and the separation and the heartbreak of losing my child at birth. And it wasn't until, well, even this year, so 10 years later, that I actually healed that. And I'll share more about that when it comes. But when in 2019, when I was running on to replace the emptiness with success. And so I left my network marketing community. I was, left my wife and was separated and getting divorced at that stage. And I just tried to stay busy. I was working 64 companies at the same, between New Zealand and America, and just like full on trying to be successful, trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to have it all, and ended up basically it all come crashing down.
So, Catch, can I just ask you on that
Yeah.
point? Continuing your wanting to build that success, did you have the motivation? Were you pulling on reserves? Were you just pushing or forcing yourself to create those results? Like, was it harder for you to be at that level?
No, it was actually, well, I was taking drugs at the time. So I was smoking marijuana full time. And I was taking other drugs. Like I had different periods of where I was using drugs as a crutch, but it was like the ambition. I was so excited, and you couldn't tell me otherwise. Like, I was just so lit up and wanting to create all these things, and I could see the vision of them all. But I wasn't grounded. I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't doing
Okay.
any grounding techniques, any breath work, meditation, prayer, affirmations, all the stuff that I do now. I was doing none of it. So I was only sleeping like 4 hours a night, and some nights I wouldn't get any sleep. And I was just bouncing from business to business. And I surrounded myself with people who, I guess you could say, had an agenda to see me succeed, because they had an invested interest in me succeeding, because they were either investors or they were benefiting from me building the businesses. So I didn't really have a foundation, if you like, to really build on. And so I was excited. I was so excited. I was, it wasn't work for me. I was passionate, but I was running, in a sense. I was running from the pain. I was running from being with myself and sitting with myself and dealing with all the trauma that had happened, leaving my company, leaving my community, running away from Lucas's death, all of that. And so, it ended up having a mental breakdown. Basically, I became suicidal very quickly. I went bankrupt. I lost friendships. And then pretty much everyone who was around me disappeared, bar a few people, like you and Jay and a couple of other people, but everyone else disappeared because they didn't know how to handle things. And so I moved back in with my parents in Townsville. I was in Brisbane, Gold Coast at the time. And it was very humbling. Like, I went at 41 years of age, I was back living with my parents, broken, and I could barely see the light. I could barely even function. I wasn't sleeping. I was suicidal. I was reaching out to helplines. I was doing a lot of things to try and help, but I was in a very dark place. Mm.
Wow, that would have been super confronting for you, like being on such a, it almost feels like all of your identities, almost a
Mm.
husband, father, an entrepreneur, success coach, um,
Mm.
and the change of circumstance and environment. I feel like that would really affect any strong person. So
Yeah,
what were you experiencing mental health challenges or burnout prior to then, or did it really?
not at all.
No, not at all. No.
Not at all. I had a really balanced life. Like I played golf once a week. I would have my kids every morning. I'd get up and I'd see them till 8:30 till my ex-wife got up, and then I would go and work for the day or work from home for the day, and then I'd take them to soccer practice or kindy-roo they called it. But yeah, I was working a lot, but I was loving it. I was really lit up by the job. So like I wasn't by the business. So I wasn't really feeling like I had any battles. I
Yeah.
didn't realize like that running away is exactly the same as trying to so as avoiding it, so to speak.
Mm.
And it wasn't until like I got home and then started to reach out to mental health lines, and I spoke with the doctor, and he tried to put me on antidepressants, which I didn't want to be on, and I was having trouble sleeping. So he tried to I couldn't sleep, which was the worst thing. And like this one of the worst things you can ever go through, I think, is when you just want to sleep and you can't, and the negative voices and the dark energy all around. And then I kind of got back on my feet enough to go get a job in Brisbane. I was coaching tradies all around the country, so I was working for the same guys I worked with 15 years earlier. Um, I worked with them, and they were mentoring tradies. So I was on Zoom calls with tradies who were turning over $1, $2, $3 million, and coaching them into a coaching business, into a coaching program. And so same again, really high performance sales, and was really successful at that. And I was setting records and winning team player of the quarter and doing all that again. And then 2020 had a huge impact on me. I just the divide and conquer tactics, let's just call them that. But there was a lot of trauma in the community and a lot of separation and a lot of values being tested and revealed, and in the community. And same again, I felt like I really had found a community down here in Byron Bay in Mullumbimby. And then, yeah, I had a party to send off 2020 because I figured we didn't get to party throughout 2020. And so I figured, fuck it, I'm going to have a massive party for the celebration of love. And decided to take a week's worth of liquid LSD, and then spent 3 weeks reincarnated as everyone you could think of, from Jesus to ancient gods to, I just was in a real psychosis, you could call it.
Tell me, and I really want to acknowledge the fact that you're being so transparent and honest. This is super relatable for anyone and everybody that has, experienced identity crisis, or
mm,
I guess you can also call it a rites of passage or initiation or a life change.
mm.
When where you talk about psychosis, can you just talk about, because the fact that you can even place it and say I went through psychosis is very, like, it's very aware, very self-aware. Do
Yeah,
you want
for
to talk to
sure.
us a little
And
bit about
don't get
that?
me wrong, I wasn't very aware at the time. I just
Oh,
thought I was on point.
I remember.
uh, I've had quite a few psychotic episodes, but that was one of the best. Um, I mean, what it looked like for me was spending like 6 hours down a rabbit hole of who built the pyramids and why Thoth and ancient gods and how the ancient gods used to work and reincarnate themselves, and the Book of the Dead, and like just research, and then like no consideration for reality, I would say. Like in a way, some would say delusional, which I've had that word used a few times to describe how I behave. but I'd also say it's delusional to work 60 hours a week and not see your family. And
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, pick your delusional. Who's the most
Yeah.
delusional? I don't know about you. I'd rather my delusion of believing we're here and we're walking, living, breathing gods and goddesses, and we can create and manifest anything we want in life. I'd prefer to be delusional about my free spirit than the infrastructure that the system created to establish control. But at the time that the psychotic episode looked like you couldn't tell me what to do. And if you were, sometimes you probably just as your fears, and I'd point them out to you. People become hostile, what I would see, like you're either with me or against me. Big visions, like grandiose kind of the world's ending type of end or days feel to it. And really not aware of the environment and other people's well-being in a sense of their beliefs, and really just overly exerting my beliefs, I would say. That's probably the main.
Kudos to you for the self-awareness that you have in all of that you can see through all of the veils to come back into, looking at your own limitations or veils or stories or narratives, and actually be able to pull apart and to unpack what is almost also, like I call it, trauma-informed cultural sensitivity, and just respecting other people's belief systems so that we're not overlapping ours on them. But also, this is a journey where I guess psychosis is making sure that you're safe, because we can all be very gifted and talented and tap into different archetypes and different histories, and every history for me tells a story that can teach us. But also just ensuring that your mental health and your ability to basically take care of yourself physically and emotionally is also really important. So how did you move
100%.
How did you move through that, Catch?
Well, at the time I did move through it with the psychosis in 2020. I was to the point where I was so arrogant. Like, I called in the devil himself. I was like, bring Shemihaza to me, like, bring it on. Like, I was actually so open and so ignorant to the spiritual laws that I literally summons the devil to come after me. And I wanted to tango with him, and like, don't do that. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea at all. I learned that the hard way when I wanted to commit suicide for like 6 months at a time, later on. But how I come through it, like, recently, because like I've been like deeply, deeply depressed and lost for about 6 to 8 months, 3 times in the last 6 years. And I tried everything. Like, I've done healing sessions with you that were amazing. I did some inner child work and somatic therapy with another beautiful friend, Tamika. I did EMDR. I did hypnosis. I did
You followed the
what
clinical
else? Like
path as well.
traditional
You went to
clinical psychology.
and,
Because that was the initial route I went down after the 2020, after my celebration of love. And I call it my reckless medicine journey, right? But the mental health team at Byron, who were the ones who initially come and saw me and had me escorted to the psych ward with some police officers. I was seeing them and getting counselling from them, and I had a psychologist he was useless. Let's just face it, he was useless. But there was a psychiatrist there that then was talking to me about bipolar and the ups and downs and the manic episodes and how I was in a deeply depressed state, and he was giving me prescribing me lithium and olanzapine to try and pull me out of it. And so that, like, I didn't really get into a lot of the healing modalities to really last year when I was same again. I was these masks that I was wearing. So what happened is in 2020, I had that episode in 2021, and then I got deeply depressed, and then I got back on my feet and went got a job as just a barista. And not just a barista. Baristas are very important. They're very baristas. Let me just take that back. I'm gonna take that back, because the baristas are one of the most important people in society. Because if you fucking get a
Absolutely.
shit coffee, then your day's ruined. Imagine getting a shit coffee and you're responsible for holding all this space for people. Now you can't hold space because you got a shit coffee,
It's a
right?
ripple effect. You want to
It's a
make sure
very
you're
important
served with
job.
amazing coffee. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, actually, what happened was I got a job just at a bakery, and I just served customers their food and ordered their coffee. I didn't even make the coffee. I didn't have the capacity to be a barista. But then I met one of who's now my ex-girlfriend. But at the time, I was starting to come out of the depression. And then I went to a friend's event who'd put on an event for his brother with cancer, and it was a bit of a rap. He was a rapper as well. And I met my ex-girlfriend there, and same again, I just kind of took off again. I just was like super elevated, super excited about life and visions, and all my business and entrepreneurial spirit came out again. And same thing, I got detained in a psych ward for being too elevated. Same thing, wasn't respecting people's beliefs and personal space, and had concerns around my own health and like safety. And so when I came out of that, that was kind of like a short up. And then in sort of February, March of 2023, I then went into another hole. And I didn't come out of that hole till February this year. So it was sort of 9 months of really feeling deeply depressed, feeling lost, feeling like I couldn't wear my mask anymore of the high performing catch, the positive, because I was really positive. So my thing was like, I'll turn anything that's negative into a positive. When Lucas died, it was like, oh, that nudged me on track to build my isogenics business and inspire thousands of people. When all these tragedies had happened, I'd kind of use them as a way to try and flip it around, but I didn't actually deal with the trauma of it. And then it wasn't until I got into gym that really helped. So I was doing, with the support of my ex-girlfriend, she was phenomenal. Like she, pushed me into going to the gym, and I went and joined a men's fitness group twice a week. And I struggled, like I pushed myself to go. I didn't want to go. It was awkward too, because we've been around in a circle and everyone would be like, hey, one word, how you feeling? And I'm like, fucked, like I'm, and then like I was deeply depressed. I couldn't look people in the eye. And you're talking to someone who's been on stages. I've done 20 years of personal development. I couldn't look people in the eye, and I was just really depressed. And the exercise helped me just get out of my head and into my body. And then, I was taking all supplements. I had some, a herbal, CBD, regime that a friend in New Zealand had done. So I did some of that, and that helped a little bit. And then I tried EMDR. I did 10 sessions of EMDR where they do rapid eye movement and reprogram your subconscious in a way. And then, I had sessions with you, some sessions with Smika, and it was all helping. It was all kind of stacking on top of each other.
And I was just going to, sorry to cut you off, Kat, I was going to say the sessions that I know maybe you want to speak into, but the grief, like processing grief and really understanding how to cry and how to tap into that loss or that betrayal, that abandonment, and letting that come up to the surface, unpacking that,
For sure.
crying about it, journaling about it. I feel like we live in a society that honestly pushes the emotions down almost, or a society that actually talks about just be positive or just move on, or let's just get over it, or go and get some help. So do you want to talk to me about what you understand, how the importance of being able, or the importance of being able to actually understand the grief?
Yeah.
How did that move? How was that for you? What could you
Well,
give?
I think particularly with men, like I can only speak on behalf of myself, and maybe I could speak behalf of the collective, is there's this generation of just suck it up, girls cry, get on with it, that generation. And if you look back at their generation, like my dad's dad went to war that generation, so there was a lot of pain and trauma, and even to the point where our diggers, when they come back from Vietnam, and how they were treated, and there was just a lot of trauma in the collective, I think, around masculine expression and feeling pain and healing. And so particularly, like, I know for me, like I'd start crying, like we'd be sitting there watching Outlander, and having a whiskey maybe, and I'd just start crying for no fucking reason. I'd just be like, I feel really sad. I don't know why. You make me cry now thinking about it. It's just like it just would come over me, right? And I'd be like there on the bed just going, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel so sad? I don't have anything to feel sad about. Like, I'm living on the beach. I get to see my kids. I'm, got a beautiful partner, and I just felt lost and I felt so upset. And then it wasn't really until I did that session with you when I separated from my ex-girlfriend where there was two things that happened at the start of the year. There was, well, three things. So the first one was um, I had a session with a kinesiologist that helped walk my soul back to myself. Her name was Christy. She was phenomenal. Um, when I went and sat down with her, I said, look, my hypnosis friend who offered some hypno session therapy said, look, you've got entities attached to you from the, you've taken drugs and you've been in environments that aren't friendly. And I knew there was an entity attached to me. I just knew that I just didn't feel myself. And what happened was when I did the session with her, I laid it all out on the table and said, look, I'm suicidal. I've got all this going on. This is everything I've been through. I need your help. And within an hour and a half session, she helped me walk my soul back to myself, because when Lucas died, part of my soul had left the building, not dealing with the pain and the grief. And I cried a lot. I shared a lot about it on stage. I'd have rooms of hundreds of people bawling their eyes out, taking them through the journey of losing my son at birth. But I never really felt it and processed the grief of it, and it was a completely different thing. So she actually helped me reclaim myself, I guess you could say, and she walked Lucas's soul back to Lucas with my soul back to me in a beautiful ceremony. That made a profound difference, because I actually got for myself, oh wow, like my soul felt whole again. And I hadn't felt that. Like the sessions were amazing with all the things that I was doing, but I just never had that kind of final piece. So that was awesome. And then she also gave me some affirmations to then reclaim my sovereignty. And that, every day and night I used to do them for 6 weeks. So that really helped. It was really she's not your traditional kinesiologist, let's just say that. The session with you helped because I just separated from my ex-girlfriend and I was just lost. And then we did that session where you just said, go and lean into it, go and cry and journal and just give yourself fully to the grieving process. And it was kind of the first time. It wasn't just grieving her, it was grieving everything. It was grieving my marriage, grieving the loss of my son. It was grieving the loss of my community. It was grieving the catch that I thought I had to be to perform, and the catch that I knew myself as. And I just started to just write. It was in the back of a book, just a journal. And every day I did it. Every day I just sat there and cried. And some days I just couldn't even. I'm so sad. And tears are dropping on the paper. And then after about, I don't know, maybe 2-3 weeks of that, I'd also started to do then men's work with a gentleman by the name of Blaze Grinner on the Sunshine Coast. And he was phenomenal. Like, he's got a foundation program where it was all about, when I said to Blaze, look, I'm not interested in another personal development program. I've done so many fucking courses. I'm just coursed out. I don't know about you. I am coursed out. I'm not doing another freaking course. What I do want is support emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And he said to me, the reason you're so exhausted is you've been wearing all these masks, and you, in this program, you just get to put them down and create yourself from nothing. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense to me, that I've just been trying to change and adapt, but at the fundamental core of who's doing the changing, it's Catch. And there's a version of Catch that I am that's giving me these limitations and these masks that I'm trying to then be in the world, when the world doesn't need me to be that. That's not who I'm here to be. Like, I can create who I am in an instant and not be attached to the Catch that was yesterday or the day before or the week before. Or so the success that I had meant shit. It doesn't mean anything. Like, I can create myself and who I want to be in this very moment. And so I did a 4-week foundation training with Blaze's Mind Fit Gym, and that was a video a day and a workbook exercise a day, and all sorts of archetypes and different modalities, different sort of healing techniques, and different, from breath work to meditation to you know, men archetypes and that masculine structure, and that really helped. It was kind of the combination of those three things that really pulled me out of, because it was like your session gave me the ability to really grieve fully and cry and just release it and feel it. Christy's session really helped me reclaim myself, and I just felt whole again. And then Blaze's work through the, you know, warrior, lover, king archetypes really helped me sort of start to build the blocks from scratch, rather than trying to change the house and do a renovation. It's like, fuck, knock the whole thing down and just build your dream house.
Burn it all to the ground and rise
Burn it
up
all to the
like a
ground.
dying
I've done that a few
phoenix.
times.
Catch, can I ask you, 'cause I'm just aware of timing and I've just got so many questions for you. I could just hear your stories time and time again. They're so real, and I love that you're just being so transparent. You have nothing to hide. Yeah, real kudos to you there. Can I ask you, what has helped you personally when you have been in the dark night of the soul, or you've been in those moments of, you know, wanting not to be here anymore or having suicidal thoughts? What helped you personally outside of the workshops and the retreats and the therapy and the clinical psychology and the allied health system and the medication? I mean, I would imagine all of those recipes supported you in the process, but what did you have to tap into in order for you to build your resilience, or like to move from those spaces?
Yeah, there's probably like, let's go physical and spiritual. So physical, there was like working out, getting in the ocean, getting around nature, you know, lifting weights, like going to the gym and just doing something physical. That really helped. What else is there? Ice bars. So I'd go in the middle of winter here. I'd go and lay in the bay in a Ballina, and it's freezing, fucking freezing. But I'd look up at the stars in the middle of the night. I'd go work out in the afternoon, and it'd be dark. So then I'd go lie in the basin in the dark and look up at the stars.
What did
So
that
there
do
was
for
those.
you? Did that kind of give you like, I just want to be, did that give you an appreciation for like nature or life or your part to play in it, or did
Yeah,
it
I think it
bring you a
gave. Well,
deeper
first of all, I
connection?
think it calmed down my body. Like it slowed me down a lot.
Mm.
Like because I just had to be in my body. And then like I think it just had me really get like it's going to be okay. The thing that came through in one, I don't know when it was, but it came through in one of the sessions, or even just by myself meditating, was you've got this. Like you've got this. Like you've been through worse. And so I was like, okay, I've been through worse. I got this. I just got to get through day by day. You know, then things like food, nutrition, supplements, eating clean, limited alcohol, no drugs, like, yeah, and then the cold. And then spiritually wise, it was prayer, meditation, self-love practices, you know. So if you'd asked me at the start of the year, what do I love about my life and what am I grateful for? It's like, oh, fuck it, not much. I started a gratitude journal. So I wrote in my gratitude journal for every day for 100 days. And I wasn't just grateful writing it out, like I was genuinely appreciative of it. Spirituality wise, I just started to like just slowly just sort of be myself again. Not even be myself again, be who I really was. And that was because of like, you know, my highest self, it's like, well, I create my highest self. So like when I was tapping into it, it's like, I don't have to be all positive. I can still be positive if I want to, but it's a genuine expression rather than a trap of a mask of covering up something that I'm not, or trying to avoid something. And yeah.
I feel like this really relevant piece of self-acceptance is so
Yeah.
significantly important, and it's radical and it sounds really easy and simple, but I remember it would have been in Byron Bay as well, Ballina, probably about 12, 13 years ago. I had a master teacher from America we were all on retreat, and he approached me out of hundreds of people we were with and lay down and grab my hands and say, and everyone like his messages were quite profound. I'm like, oh, you're here, you're at my feet, wonderful. And he grabbed my hand and said, accept yourself. And I
Mm.
was waiting for more juice. I was like, and like, of course I accept myself, you know, and I had this moment of, I love who I am. I'm here on retreat. I make my life decisions. But actually, years of processing, years of deep reflection, meditation, self-inquiry, and
Mm.
learning how it can be really difficult to be your genuine soul, spirit self in a
Mm.
world that has so many roles and
Mm.
veils and identities.
Mm.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm working a lot, and I really suggest to everybody, like, just to like look into how to really accept yourself, the parts of yourself that need to change, shift, transform, allow that a safe rite of passage, of course.
Mm.
But actually innately the part of you, the innocence of you, the part of you that genuinely wants to come alive and express itself to the
Yeah.
world. Yeah, I would really suggest you do
100%. It's that
lots of.
forgiveness piece. Hey, like you helped me discover that within myself, like not like because I started to live with regret. And it's like you helped me just accept myself, like accept me, like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck up. Like, so is everyone. Everyone's
Absolutely.
fucked up. Like, no one's perfect. And yeah, that acceptance piece is such a like I think it's one of the first pieces of radical self-love is
Absolutely.
acceptance, forgiveness, and then ownership. Like you
Yeah.
own everything. Like I co-created that shitstorm of an ex relationship, or whether it be with someone you were bad in, like it, for me anyway, someone who I've interacted with, not that I'm proud of. Okay, well, I can accept that and forgive myself and move on, rather than how they catch monkeys in the jungle. You ever heard that? Where they
No.
reach in and grab the banana. They put a cage in the banana, and the monkey reaches in and grabs it, and then it can't pull its hand out because it's holding onto the banana. And the monkey can have its freedom and go and find however many bananas it wants, but it holds onto that one banana, and they just walk up to it, put a collar on it, and then it's a pet for the rest of its life.
Oh,
That's how
that's
humans are.
sad. I just want to
I
see
know,
those
but that's
monkeys.
how humans are.
Oh
Don't worry about the
no.
monkeys. Don't worry about the monkeys. Worry about the humans who are
And
attached to they're attached to their identities, and that's what we do.
absolutely. I also want to say, this has changed my life. This has changed I don't know if anyone here feels guilty for doing things or overthinks things, like that has a really hard inner critic. But what I come to realize is you can always correct your path. Yeah,
Mm.
you've made a mistake. You've made some decisions that weren't super, in alignment at the time. However, know that you can always correct your path. And that's where the gold is. This is where the empowerment
Mm.
is, where you say, hey, yes, I own this and I can change this and I can correct things.
Mm.
And that is really it's not positive, it's a really empowering way of reclaiming your
Yeah,
path. Um,
yeah, yeah, 100%. That's so beautiful.
yeah, it's helped me a lot. Otherwise we can be so stuck in the rut of I've made a mistake. I need to pay for this. I need to be super critical,
Yeah,
take too much responsibility. We
yeah,
all have, an opportunity to correct our
yeah.
paths. Catch, what would you say, looking back on your 6-year journey, what would you tell your past self, whilst if you could look at yourself struggling over the last 6 years, what would you share with yourself now? And
Um,
the next part of it is, what would you share with others who are also struggling?
yeah, what I'd say for myself was saying that just come through before is let your past refine you, not define you. So let your
Mm,
past refine you,
beautiful.
not define you. So that would have helped just me forgiving myself and not judging myself, because God doesn't judge me. I judge myself,
Mm,
and then I
mm,
curse myself with that judgment. So
mm.
yeah, letting my past refine me, that okay, if I treated someone badly, how can I not do that again? I can't take it back the way I treated them, and I may not be able to communicate with that to them, but I can communicate with myself to heal and forgive. Um,
Beautiful.
yeah, so that would be, then to others, I would just say, look, you don't get how fucking miraculous you are. Like, it's a miracle that you're even here. You know, if you look at go back 8 generations, that's over 1,000 people have fought saber-toothed tigers, depression, wars, famines, you name it. Your ancestors have dealt with it. The fact that your mum got your dad pregnant, it's a miracle. The fact that we can do this and move my finger just by conscious thought, that's a miracle.
If the mum got the dad pregnant, it really would be a miracle.
I can't believe I just said that. We are in 2024. You know what I'm saying? You know
I
what I'm
know what you're saying.
I think I'll get sometimes dyslexic where it just swaps the words around, but they're meant to be true. Who knows? But you do you, boo. That's you do you. That's all. But
It is a miracle.
yeah, life is a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. Like, and to me, I've started this philosophy of have the best day of your life. Just simple. Just have the best day of your life. Like, what would it take for you to have the best day of your life? And that's where I'm at now. Like, if you had have said that to me at the start of the year, I would have said, fuck, the best day of my life would just make the pain go away. Make the pain go away. And you don't do that. You're going to start making me cry.
Oh.
I said I wouldn't cry on this podcast.
There's still a few minutes left. There is hope.
I'll do the final 5 minutes, just pull my eyes out. No, like it truly is. If you get how miraculous it is that you're even in your chair right now, because a lot of people who have battled your battles aren't. They're not here to tell the story of survival and how they come through it. And, you know, nobody, you know, nobody's story is any more less significant. You know, you could have small trauma, you could have big trauma. It's all trauma. It's all separation from God. It's all separation from love. You know, some of the most successful people have had the worst things happen to them. And, you know, some of the most, you know, ordinary people have fallen down and not gotten back up. And yet here we are, like here you are, you're up, you know. And I remember you said that you sent a voice message to me once about get off the canvas, boo. And I'm fucking trying. I'm just trying. Don't let him count to 10. You know what I mean? Just
get off the 7. What?
Get off the canvas. Okay. You know, get off the floor. You don't belong there. You know, nobody belongs there. And it's okay to be there too. It's okay if you're depressed and you're anxious. It's actually okay too. You don't need fixing.
No.
You just need more love, starting with yourself, radical self-love, self-ownership, self-forgiveness. And then you need to fucking look after yourself. You need to do the things that you know to do. Whether it's sometimes to me that was just go to the beach and do some push-ups. And that's all I had for the day. And then that's all I got. You know, I can make yourself toast and go back into bed and cry again, and so be it. But just do one thing, just the next step, the next step, the next step, and stack the wins. Stack the wins. You don't need to change your whole. I kind of like to do things all in, so I burn them down and then just figure out how the fuck. What did I do? All right, well I chose that. You know, that's how I figured my soul was. I think Jay said it to me once. He goes, "Your soul's like this." He goes, you didn't even ask the conditions that you came to Earth in. Your soul just went straight down. I'm in for it, you know, like, and, you know, just stack the wins and know that your soul's here, has a divine purpose. And if you're in the hole, like give yourself fully to the hole, go and cry and don't be, I call it drama. It's drama around your trauma. It's like, it's okay to have trauma. It's not okay to have trauma because then it's just you're just holding on to it. You're the monkey in the jungle, and it's costing you relationships. It's costing you your vitality. It's costing you your dreams, and it's costing you the experience of living heaven on earth. Because I believe this is heaven.
I really love that analogy because we all of us have trauma. All of us have trauma, irregardless of whether it's ours or intergenerational trauma that's been passed down through our lineage. But the drama that kind of sometimes sits around the trauma that actually we end up being, it's like this like self-defeating patterns and behaviors of insanity that causes chaos for everybody else. Talk to us about how to move away from, what would you suggest? What advice would you give around the drama?
Well, the first thing to go is really like like, do you want to hold on to it or not? Do you want to hold on to the banana? Do you want to keep telling people this story for the next 10 years and blaming someone for your outcome? If you just got that everything happened is divinely inspired, you
Yeah.
actually were meant to break up with that person. You're actually meant to, and look, you want to know, I fucking struggled with this, Mary, because my son died in labor, right? And he died when I was like, he was conceived and died in a leadership program with Landmark. Like, he was the possibility of possibilities. We were changing the world inside of this personal development program, and that was his journey for 9 months. Like 30 hours a week was, in the world of possibility. So when you had said to me, "Oh, the universe is working for you," I find it pretty, I find it pretty hard to um, justify why the universe is working for me when my baby's just died. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I find it pretty hard to um, uh, justify why the universe is working for me when I'm um, learning how to, like, when I'm managing the trauma. You know what I mean? When you're in the middle of it, it's very hard to separate yourself from it. That's what I found. And I think if, like, for me, that the advice that I would give is, first of all, like, there must be some sort of payoff. If you want to keep that story around, terrible things have happened to a lot of people. Terrible things have happened to our ancestors. So, like, what are, for us to really honor the ancestors that have won those battles and they're still alive, to me, I owe it to my ancestors to do everything I can to live the fully best life and live a miraculous life, right? So to do that, it's not to make myself wrong for feeling the way I feel. I think we've just got to be conscious of, if you're aware that you're in the hole, that's the first step. Because then you can become aware of going, well, is there a payoff for me being in the hole? Do I not need to take responsibility for things? Do I get to blame someone else? Do I get to blame my mum for the fact that she did this to me when I was younger? Or blame my dad for this, or blame my brother, or this business partner, or my girlfriend cheated on me, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter the drama, or sorry, the trauma. What matters is the story that we then attach ourselves to. And yes, feel the pain and do the healing work, but look at what's possible when is on the other side of that. And when you release there's no better feeling, I believe, than doing the work to heal our lineage,
Mm,
as a collective. Like, when I heal, you heal. You know what I mean? When
mm,
you do the
mm,
healing
mm,
work,
mm.
Mary, everyone heals. And if we just had enough people doing themselves, stop trying to fix everyone else, stop trying to fix yourself, just heal yourself and come back to love and fall back in love with yourself the same way a toddler does. You don't see a toddler fall over and then get back up and then tell its mum how it doesn't want to try again. It just goes. And if we could take that same approach with ourselves of going, okay, well, yeah, a lot of us have stuffed up, so be it, but we're here.
Yeah,
So that's
beautiful.
what, yeah.
I love that. I love that I can listen to you as I have for forever. And what I will add to that is, yeah, healing is so important. Like, heal yourself, hear yourself, hold yourself.
Oh,
For the ancestors, I'm super passionate about transgenerational and understanding transgenerational, intergenerational healing. Is such a significant part of understanding the connection that we all have. And also, the revolution lies in the generations yet to come, and
mm,
actually dreaming of what we're able to fulfill as a legacy for our children and for our children's children, and really
yeah,
paving. So it's almost like, okay, respecting the past, the present, and the legacy, even the imprint of hearing, holding, and healing for the
yeah,
future generations. I think
100%.
that's a, I'm not sure how you feel about that, but for me, that's
Oh,
kind
can
of
I
woken me
just,
up, because I'm seeing all
yeah,
these little
yeah.
kids and I'm
Well,
like,
have
wow.
you heard about when they did the it's quantum entanglement. It's actually, I think there's the physics names for it, but when they had these mice in New York go through and figure out how to find the cheese, and they trained them to be able to do that, so they learnt the skill, and then the mice in Chicago learnt the skill. It was like they all got
Oh,
upgraded at the
wow.
same time.
Incredible.
And so it's
This-
like a collective consciousness. So it's not like you're healing the next generations when they come. You're actually healing your kids now
mm, mm, mm,
by doing that healing work yourself. And you're healing my kids, Mary.
mm,
I'm
mm.
healing my next door neighbor's kids,
I honestly
by
feel
doing
like
that
I'm
collective.
healing the kids all over the place. Even though I have
Yeah,
none that have come through me, it's like, wait a minute,
yeah,
you don't need to be a physical mother or, if you like, a physical father in order
not at
for
all.
you to actually support the
Yeah,
children of the earth and the future generation.
100%. And you don't need to have a massive vision like, some people do, and I do, and there's plenty of other people who do. It's just as important if you just want to live a beautiful life and do the healing work and smile at the homeless person. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? Or like, go and volunteer at the nursing home and take your little kid there so that the old lady has joy in her
Yeah,
day. Like, you know what I mean? That's just as
absolutely.
important as the people who will be on stage and leading thousands of people.
Mm-mm. The idea of being the embodiment of your own legacy. So I always, when people come to me and say, I've got this wild and fierce mission, and in that there is struggle, I always say, I will bring it back to the question of, do you believe that you are the mission? And therefore, if you
Mm,
remember that you are the mission, it doesn't matter if you're making coffee, it doesn't matter if
mm,
you're selling roses, whether you're up on stage, whether you've got a day off and you're
yeah,
walking the streets, smiling at somebody across the road, you can have a massive impact. And that actually in itself brings that back to you, feel really positive inside of yourself.
yeah,
Do you have
100%.
any questions, Stephanie, for Kat? Or Kat, do you have any questions for me? Or does anybody, just before we kind of finish up today?
Mm, I have a couple questions. Yeah, it's been beautiful to hear you from your heart and hear such transparency as well, and to see how the healing arts have helped you so much in that journey. And I know that this was a lot around your identities and the shifting of your identity from what it was
Mm,
to who you are now, and then releasing all the masks, which is also seemingly how you can speak so transparently about being called
Yeah.
or this or that, because it's actually just another box, just another identity that you're not holding on to or catching on
mm,
to.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I wanted to ask you about is this part about being diagnosed with, whether it was BPD, manic depression, mental health disorders, and how it is like to experience that identity, and like to know that that doesn't mean it's always going to be there, and for people to who may be diagnosed with that and become very attached to that diagnosis or identity.
Yeah, for sure.
Share about that in your
For
journey.
sure, yeah. Look, I've got a different take on it, I guess. Like for me, I don't believe in mental illness. I don't believe it's an illness. It's just a wellness challenge.
Mm.
That's it. I don't have a mental illness. I have a mental wellness challenge that I need to manage. And so I think for me, like I just like the idea of that I can heal myself and I can manage my own somatic containers, and like I do the nervous system work. I think comes back down to a lot of it is the container I hold for myself and how much I love myself and look after myself, and noticing the signals, the signs that I may be getting too elevated, or if I'm feeling flat, how to sort of re-energize myself. And so, yeah, I think for me, like particularly with that, like that, someone was to say to me, "Are you bipolar?" Well, I'm like, well, I have bipolar tendencies. You know, I have bipolar tendencies. I wouldn't say that I'm attached to being a particular way, because it's like any sort of attachment. It's like being attached to like being a dad, like I am a father, but it's like I don't just have that as it's like it's not my identity, it's who I get to choose to be in that moment. I'm a father to all the kids. Whenever I see a kid in the playground, it's like the community's raising the kids. What if
Beautiful.
if
I
we all
really,
looked out?
from what you said, like illness versus wellness is I illness and we wellness. That instead of seeing it as an illness, it's a wellness, because
Yeah,
the more you connect with the tribe and what
100%.
you. And I also really
Yeah,
experienced speaking about like understanding your own central nervous system and knowing like,
yeah,
okay, I feel that little bit shift, that that you can tell for yourself, now is time to do whatever it needs to happen for understand
Yeah, for sure.
ability to regulate. Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
for sure. And just imagine a world where we live in, like where it's like the people are celebrated for their differences and they got taught the somatic techniques and the nervous system and different styles of healing and different ways to express yourself and artwork and coloring in. And, you know, rather than us, like as a society, we seem to just punish what we don't understand.
Mm. Well, it's that time. Thank you so
I've
much.
got one question though. I've got one question.
I'll go for it.
When are you coming to see me, Mary?
Well, I would like to tell you that the good news is I'm finishing my university in 8 weeks. I graduate, I finish, it's done.
Wow, you graduate. Wow.
4 years are over, 4 very long,
Wow.
amazing
years.
academic scholarship years of, juggling university business and obviously working in the allied health system. So, honey, when I finish, I'm going to have I don't know if we should, what did you call your love party? A love celebration?
Celebration of love. It's in Byron Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I finish in November and I will be in contact with you after the show.
Ah, let's see us
Because I miss
finally.
my
Hey, see, Mary, send me a date.
Okay.
We can celebrate and honor you for the journey you've been on with your study and really
Yeah.
have
All
a
right.
big party to
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mary, and everything that the One Love Community Care is doing for all of these stories to be brought out, for all of the people that are connected. And One Love Community Care is really all about these trauma-informed spaces, and really want to honor everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you for being my
thank you.
right hand with Freebird. Thank you so much, Catch. I really appreciate your love, your articulation, your transparency is like honestly has inspired me today, and I know that it's going to inspire so many. If any of you have got a question for Catch, please let us know. If you watch the podcast, feel free to share it. Let us know what your thoughts are, whether you want to be on the show. If you are looking for some support in Australia for around mental health, you can look up www.olcc.au. And then obviously there are going to be practitioners all around the world, as well as trauma-informed and culturally sensitive practitioners here to help and support you. All right, love you guys. Have the best time.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Mwah.